Like the Real Housewives of Max Verstappen up in here.
Checo's checked out.
Joe Lonyu is off the track. That steak is cooked.
I gotta say, a lot is at stake for Steak F1.
Man, even the broadcast couldn't handle that stat.
Man, my heart almost was screaming like, how can anybody be a Lewis Hamilton fan?
No.
Not on my 2024 bingo card.
Yeah, we're gonna have to create a new one now.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Lights Out Latest. My name is Marina, and I'm here with Jason, Tristan, and Steven. Today we're going to talk all things Qatar Grand Prix, which was supposed to be boring.
Yeah.
After the sprint, I was dead set that this is going to be the most boring race of the year. However, not as boring as we thought.
Nope.
But first, as always, headlines. Paul Aaron, we'll start with Alpine. Paul Aaron announced as the Alpine reserve for next year. Thoughts?
Yeah, it seems pretty cool. I mean, he just got his first win, obviously, and now we were talking about this on the way here. He's gonna have a reserve seat. He didn't have a seat next year as before this, so now he has a seat, and he won his first race. So, I mean, that's a win-win if you ask me. Going into a race without a seat and without a win, and you go out with a win and a seat. I mean, shoot.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I could hear Alex Brundle saying his name in my ears. And Paul Aaron.
I love that, like, I've never met anyone or heard of anyone from Estonia. Like, that's where he's from.
Yeah.
It's a very, like, oddball, like, place. Sure, he's definitely had to overcome a lot coming from there
And
to be
all
able
of
to be where he
Estonia
is.
was just offended.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's easier if you're from the UK than if you're from Estonia or from the US, like Logan Sargent or something. The road to F1 is easier when you're in a country that is so dominant in karting and has such a big karting scene, like UK, like France, Italy.
And that's why Daniel Kvyat moved to Italy, and that's why Daniel Ricciardo moved to Italy.
Exactly.
I mean, after karting, they went to race in Italian F4.
Yeah.
Makes
Well,
sense.
most of these guys leave home at like 14.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So that's like Max.
Mark
When
Webber
like he
did
wins
that.
championships, and so when he won championship, like the first one, he's like, "This is like, you know, my family did so much for me to get here," and like they all say that because truthfully, they're like, their parents have to like, just like we leave at 18,
Yep.
they leave at like 13 or 14, and they're living on their own and all the expenses that come with that. So it's crazy.
Is this the first F1 driver from, well, not F1, F2 driver from, I guess,
Estonia?
yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to check. I don't think it's the first F2 driver.
Yeah.
I think he'll be the first driver if he ever makes it to the grid. I think he'd be the first F1 driver.
Cool beans. I mean, I think Estonia, they have a pretty good track and field team, right?
Estonia?
Yeah,
No,
I think so.
I don't know. But
Cool beans other way.
also Alpine news. Number 7 of Kimi Räikkönen back on the grid next year, or potentially this year. We'll see. With Jack Doohan, that's the number he has chosen. I want to know if you think Esteban Ocon is racing tomorrow. Not tomorrow, next week.
This feels like another Sergio Perez situation, just waiting to happen. Though not nearly as bad, of course. But I will say also to the Kimi Räikkönen point, I'm surprised that number isn't retired. I mean, maybe it's a little much to say for Kimi Räikkönen, but I don't know.
I think F1 ever retired numbers. I mean, before this, before the modern era, which is like 2011, when hybrid engines really kicked in, there was never any set numbers in racing. They'd always give it on your previous year's like championship record.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's why Jenson Button won his first championship with the number 22, because technically Braun was a new team and they're given the last two numbers on the grid, 21 and 22.
Yeah.
So his Barrichello's teammate is 21 and he was 22. So it wasn't until literally within the last decade did numbers mean anything in Formula One.
Yeah.
So retiring numbers, although common to other motorsports, never happened in F1. I don't think it ever will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. I mean, for certain drivers, I think you look at it and you're like, yeah, this number should ever be used again. But I think, to your point, other sports, it means more.
Yeah,
I
and
think
the other
F1
thing is
doesn't mean
once
as
you win,
much.
you could use the number 1.
And
Yeah.
nobody can use your number.
Yeah.
So like nobody can take 33 until Max goes back to it or chooses a different number.
Yeah.
Which now that Daniel's not on the grid, this is okay. I started thinking about this when Lando was like approaching, thinking, okay, if Max doesn't win this year, Is he going back to 33, or would he potentially consider going to 3? Or if next year he doesn't win, would he consider going to 3? Because
That's
he wanted
crazy.
3 coming into F1. He couldn't have it because Daniel had it. So he was like, I'll just go double 3, 33. So would he ever go to 3, or is 33 now his like new number?
I would feel like he'd probably stick with 33. I mean, he's had success with it. Not to say he hasn't had success with 3,
The
but
branding.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It would
it'd
be like
a-
a slap in the face to Danny Rick, and I'm
Facts.
sure
Yeah.
fans of both sides would like lose their minds. How would you feel, Marina, if he went to 3?
If he went to 3,
Yeah.
if he went to 3 and called it an homage to his relationship with Danny, and that was something that was pre-agreed between him and Danny, I would like it.
Yeah.
If it was just kind of like I don't think it would ever be like a slap in the face, but it was just kind of like all of a sudden, oh yeah, he's gonna race number 3. Then I think it'd be a little weird. I don't know.
Would there be any chance that you could go 0-3?
No.
No.
Huh. That wouldn't be too bad.
I know
think
in
that-
NASCAR they do stuff like that.
Yeah,
Do they
stuff
do
like that.
0, like 0 a number in F1?
I don't
I
know.
don't know that I've ever seen that before.
I was just bringing it up because I know NASCAR does. Like those are
Yeah.
2 different cars.
Yeah, there used to be like the 01, which was like the U.S. Army car, and then like the 09. There's been all sorts of ones. I would think the only reason, or the only way I would be happy if Max did go back to 3, like if this was in this made up scenario, the font would have to be drastically different.
Yeah.
It would have to be very, because wasn't Danny's very similar to how Dale Earnhardt had his 3? I'd have to
Yeah,
see.
but unlike NASCAR and even IndyCar, F1 doesn't do stylized driver numbers. It's really just a
On the-
team font.
On the actual,
Yeah.
That's what I
saying,
mean,
On
is
the
I feel
actual
like-
telemetry, the numbers are all the same, like in
Yeah.
terms of font. It's just on the car, but it's on a Red Bull. When Danny retired from RB, that font is a lot different than the font currently on the Red Bull.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's like a big thing. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But the whole Esteban Ocon thing, it was funny because the commentators were talking about it as a rumor, and they said, oh, they're talking to Ollie Oakes, which is the new Alpine team principal. So they talked to Ollie about it, and they're like, can you tell us anything? He goes, Ocon finishing the season was the plan, but I guess now we'll see.
What?
He was
That's
very
so
confused.
weird to
that
me.
as
This
a,
is not coming from Alpine. This was Esteban Ocon doing an interview, and like after he DNF'd, and he just said, I couldn't tell you exactly what he said because I remember hearing it, but I don't remember exactly what it said, and I don't want to like say it wrong. But
I mean, but they're still in a fight for 6th place. Wouldn't
Right.
you want your best driver and
No.
not just?
he's not their best driver.
Yeah, currently, I mean,
Pierre Gasly has wildly outscored him.
Yeah.
But the guy
well,
you're
in only
putting
2
in,
races.
who's the guy they're putting in now?
It'd be Jack Doohan.
Oh,
Or-
but he is racing next year. All right,
Yeah.
so you get a
Yeah.
shot next year, but you would think you want him to finish your final race and maybe get
That's what
better
I'm saying,
than a
though.
rookie.
That's
Yeah.
not Alpine's decision. Alpine is saying we thought he was racing till the end of the season.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're saying this is a move by
This is
Ocon.
Ocon, not
Why?
Alpine. This is what I'm saying. Ollie Oakes said the plan was to have him race till the end of the season, but based on what he said, I guess we're gonna have to have a little talk and see if that's still what he wants.
Yeah.
What, does he want to take a vacation early?
He wants to take, he wants to take it off.
That's crazy.
that's what he said. Like
How
he
would
kind
you
of
not
loosely
want
said
to
that.
attend the final race
Yeah.
at Alpine? Like, is it that bad? Like, he's going to Haas.
It's that bad.
Like,
That's
Dude, the
crazy.
relationship between
Crap.
Esteban Ocon and Alpine
It's
is
that
terrible.
bad.
Well,
It's
I
that
mean, I
bad.
guess if he doesn't see it getting any better, it's just gonna make things worse. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I
Go
feel
for it, I
like he's
guess.
burnt bridges there that can never be unburned.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it started all the way back with Monaco.
Mm.
When we thought,
he got a podium there for Alpine.
yeah, forever ago. But I'm saying like this year in Monaco. That's ancient history.
Man, he
Way
put
too long.
podiums in multiple teams' cases. He put podiums for Red Bull, for Toro Rosso, for
He got
Alpine.
a podium with what?
for Toro
Ocon got
Rosso.
a podium for Toro Rosso?
Oh, I'm thinking Gasly.
I was about to
shoot.
say, Gasly
Well,
has a
I'm
podium
getting
with
ahead
Toro
of
Rosso.
myself. Ocon
Ocon
was
has
out
a
of F1 in
penalty.
2019.
He has a win with Renault. Was it still Renault?
No, it was just a podium.
Was his win with Renault or with Alpine?
I
Either
know he
way,
has
it's
a
the same
podium.
team.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
I will say-
2021, right?
No, I don't know. 2021 was Gasly's win in Monza.
It
That
looks
had to be
like
20.
I have no idea.
It looks like Oaks was actually he expanded upon his like statement because he said that there was talks of releasing Ocon early and getting Jack doing into for that last race, and he said I guess you could say it is good that Jack gets in early. We're really thinking about it, looking forward to this next weekend.
What is that on?
ESPN.
So it's like, who did he talk to then? Because that's what he
Secure.
said.
Sorry, Secure 2020.
What he said about that was the original plan was to have Ocon finish the season. That was on Sky, like live on Sky Sports. So it must have been like
I trust that there was a journalist at the race.
I'm not saying I don't trust
the
information.
ESPN is.
I'm just saying no. I trust ESPN. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that was a different interview. Like he must have gotten more information, either got more information or just talked more to that journalist and been more like willing to.
He said
speak
this.
To
He
ESPN.
says Oaks said doing the reserve driver and son of motorcycle great Mick would be able to, in quote, get those butterflies going now rather than next year in Australia.
Interesting.
So
It wouldn't be the worst. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't think.
Dislike it. I just think it was really funny that he seemed caught off guard.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, if you go back and watch that interview, I don't know if I can find it, but he seemed genuine. Actually, I take it back. He wasn't on Sky. He was on F1 TV. But anyways, if you go back and watch that, he seemed genuinely caught off guard by like, wait, Esteban's not racing the last race. What do you mean?
It's so weird. That team has been such a mess, but then they pull up like actually being fast with Gasly.
Well, did you see what Gasly said in his post-race interview?
What did he say?
He said it feels weird racing against Carlos in the Ferrari because the only time I saw them at the beginning of the year were when they were lapping me with blue flags.
Yeah,
because that's how slow they were.
Yeah.
Like, how are they fighting for 6th?
Yeah, so they're fighting for 6th.
In the championship.
When was the last time Aston Martin scored a point?
Oh, today?
They scored today? With
Fernando Alonso came in
Fernando?
7th.
Oh, so he finished where he started.
Before
then.
today.
Must have been a hot minute ago.
Did he score in Vegas?
Let me
No.
check.
Brazil?
Because like just like the last few times, well, like the 400th
It was
race,
Singapore. Came in 8th.
Huh?
He was a lap down. Came in 8th.
So that was a while ago.
That's crazy. A lap down.
Well, because Fernando has had some bad luck these last few races.
Yeah. He was doing pretty good for a little while there. Singapore and then Azerbaijan, he came in 6th. Italy in 11th.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll hasn't been in the
doing okay.
points since Hungary in 10th place.
You said Lance Stroll?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
he's finished every race but 2.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
In Sao Paulo, he didn't start. And then in Qatar, well, he didn't start because of his own doing, so that doesn't count. And
So-
Qatar, he retired.
That's a shame about. I think if we were to look at this whole grid, I think Stroll's seat is the most undeserved. And again, not even barring parental connections. It's like because that car is not slow.
No.
Like
Yeah,
it's not
not bad.
fast.
He should have
It's
been.
not
out
They should be
fast.
outscoring the Haas every week, and Haas
After
is getting
2021.
points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. That might be a stretch for me.
I mean, if you think
to
about
say
it,
that
it's
the Aston should be outscoring the Haas.
He
I mean,
raced for Jackie
statistically, they
Chan's
are.
race team?
92 points to Haas's 54. I mean, they are.
But
they
at the
are.
beginning of the season, they weren't slow.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
Fernando
right now
was-
they're not that slow.
Fernando was higher up. It's also tough because unless someone makes a mistake, like things that happened today, or Lewis is unhappy with the car, your top 8 are pretty locked in.
Yeah.
You got the 2 Ferraris, top 7, 2 Ferraris, 2 McLarens, the 2 Mercedes, and Max.
Mm-hmm.
That's your top 7, 95% of the time.
Yeah.
And now Gasly's up there pretty consistently. So you have 8 out of the top 10 spots pretty, locked down. So you're fighting over those last 2 spots between the Haas's that have been quick, Yuki, Liam. They've all been kind of, shuffling in and out of those last 2 spots.
Yeah.
So.
I have a massive prediction for Lance Stroll. So
Oh, boy.
he's going to go back to what I just said, if any of you heard that. Didn't you hear that?
Hear what?
But
So he's going back to IMSA. He did 2 races in IMSA, Lance Stroll. 2016 and 2018, 24 Hours to Daytona.
Oh boy.
First year, he raced for Chip Ganassi Racing. Okay, that's a pretty good team. Got in 5th place, right?
Not
But
bad.
then, obviously, he did such a good job. He returns in 2018 with Jackie Chan Racing,
Oh my gosh.
co-owned by Jackie Chan and based in Wuhan, China.
Wow.
wait, what?
That is what category was this? Was this
This
LMP1?
is, this was, DPI.
Oh,
Oh wait, no, it's not. It's a LMP3.
Yeah,
So the big
Jenkins,
okay.
formerly known as DC Racing.
that is
yeah.
wild.
So the
hilarious.
top of the top
The
in the
car's pretty.
dentist class, as
So
they
you're-
call it, LMP3, because a bunch of
saying-
dentist rates there.
You're saying Lance out.
I'm saying Lance is ni hao.
Oh,
He's going all the way
gosh.
to China. He's going back.
I want Felipe Djokovic to take his seat so bad.
That'd be cool.
It's never gonna happen. We can keep dreaming. on
I'm
that
sorry.
one.
I like to talk about it, but it's not gonna happen. You're
Anyways,
right.
let's talk about Cadillac
Oh my
real quick.
gracious.
Katie.
Because we will officially have the 11th team on the grid for 26. What I'm most concerned about is the fact that we're going to have 22 cars on the grid in Monaco. That's a little concerning. Other than that, fine. But 22 cars in Monaco kind of stresses me out.
I mean,
But
could
it'll
you?
be 26 with the smaller cars.
Right, but it's still 22 cars in qualifying.
It's a
Yeah.
track
How do
issue.
you create a gap? It's a 50-second lap.
Make
you
a
want-
longer qualifying session?
No way. They're not going to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, they
won't do
might.
it.
They might.
Only if they did it consistently throughout the year.
Yeah, I'm saying they might.
Yeah, but only if it's consistent. Because if it's not, then everybody's just gonna hate
Wait,
it.
what would be the positive of lengthening the qualify session?
So that they can actually build gaps with an extra 2 cars on the grid.
Well, yeah, it
Oh.
would be like they could go out, spread out the times they go out of the pit lane.
But realistically, it's not gonna help anything because they're always gonna go out in the last 3 minutes anyways.
Then
what about
chaos.
What about the wild concept of single car qualifying in
No.
Monaco?
They
Why?
used to do
That makes the
single
most
car qualifying.
sense. It
I
literally
like the way we do
does.
qualifying. It's much.
You're gonna look at me like I'm wrong? Like I'm wrong?
You're gonna say
I
I'm
didn't say you're
wrong.
wrong. I just said that the way F1 does qualifying is quite entertaining.
It is, but Monaco's a quite unique track.
Okay, but I'm not saying like okay for Monaco if you want to do it like
Just
one
Monaco.
off, but
Just
not for the
Monaco.
whole
Yeah,
season.
no, not the whole season. No, just Monaco.
Interesting.
I would
Just
be
like how
pissed
the
off if it was the
500
whole
is
season.
a one-off weird race. Monaco can
Monaco's
be
a
one-off
weird track.
race.
I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
very strange.
No, I agree.
Yeah, do it like Pike Peak style.
I mean, and then the year after, they'll race like golf carts around there.
Maybe.
There you go.
Fiat 500s.
Wait, the Citroen Ami, the one that flipped at the hairpin.
Oh my god.
Imagine we'd have all the drivers go through nicely,
Hey.
and then Lance
So
Stroll
Triple flip.
does the barrel roll.
And there goes Lance.
No,
He's on
Lan-
the roof.
Lance would like electively choose to drive like a Reliant Robin or something.
back to the GM team. Who do you think could be the driver there? Because I've
There's so many.
There's
There's gotta be an
possibilities.
American
No doubt.
driver.
Colton Herta.
I've told
Ooh.
him. I've heard K Mag.
He almost has a super license. Do you know what he's missing? 1 super license point. And do you know who got an exception? I
Who?
think it was Kimi Antonelli got an exception because he's on 39
Oh, yeah.
points, right?
Kimmy? No, I think he.
Who had 39 points and got an exception? It was like recent. Is it Bierman?
Ollie?
It might have been. There's someone I
Or-
thought that did.
The point being is that he could.
It might be Kimmy because Kimmy raced F4
Well,
and he's not doing that great in F2. I don't
I
know.
think
I don't
you're
know
right.
how he has the.
I think
super
it is
license
Kimi
point.
Antonelli. Well, besides that, if he
I didn't even
wanted to
think
get
about
the
that.
40 points to get a super license, he could do 1 free practice session, and that's 1 point, and that would be next week. But he
Well, it'd
also
be
has
next year.
all of next year. But next year, some of his, because they go on a rotating cycle of 4 years, I think, and only your past 4 years of super license points counts. 7 of his are expiring. 6 of his are expiring. So that means
So-
for next year to get the 40 points, he could do 7 F1 free practice sessions. Or get an
bad.
exception.
I think,
Or he could just finish high enough in IndyCar and not have to worry about it. But
to be fair, I really do think that GM is just going to find someone who can qualify easily. They've had so much stress.
Santino Ferrucci.
Oh gosh.
They've had so much stress getting
I really
into the
don't like
sport
him.
as it is that I really do think they're gonna try and go with a pick that's gonna make people happy.
Yeah.
Because I
Probably.
think a lot of people aren't happy with the decision to have an 11th team. So if they pick someone that nobody likes, that's
Santino
kind of like
Ferrucci.
Yo, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
American team coming into the market, right?
Mm-hmm. Jimmy
Daniel
Johnson.
Ricciardo.
Oh.
Yes.
I've said this. I said this last week.
You did say it last
It's
week
gonna be
because the
Botox.
car that was teased had the 3 on it.
which I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure was not for
Not
Daniel,
for- no.
but
For Serrano Ferrucci.
It's gonna be Daniel Ricciardo and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is gonna come out of retirement. That's what's gonna
Dale?
happen. Dude, no.
Junior?
No,
I'm sorry,
absolutely not.
Junior. Dale is his
Dude,
That
father.
guy's
Can
got
we-
so many concussions, his brain is mush.
Can we have Danny Rick and Kyle Larson?
This is like NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle did pretty good in the IndyCar. I don't.
I thought he had a test with McLaren.
I think he did. He did have a test from the
Jimmy
McLaren in their
Johnson
car.
tested an F1 car.
He also tested an F1 car. Yeah.
Just go
There's-
full American.
They're not going to get an old timer like that.
No.
I think Danny Rick is actually a solid option.
for sure.
Oh yeah.
And it's I mean, it doesn't
the
get
young
more
driver will
American
be
than
Colton
Cadillac.
Herta.
I mean, come on.
I just don't know
Colton
if
Herta,
he's
Danny
gonna
Rick.
want it.
That's
not?
true. It's fair.
Why would he want to come back after a year and a half out?
He did it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this time he's not. Unless they talk to him
This-
now and he's training for it, or he picks up a reserve role.
Do you think
Well,
his
now-
agent called
Like
GM?
Red
yes or
Bull
no?
needs a reserve.
Yes or
I'm
no?
sure
did
he
his
did.
agent call
I'm
it?
sure he
Yes.
did.
Yeah.
Yes,
There,
Well,
there's
now
your
he doesn't
answer.
have to
He
deal with
would.
the drama of Red Bull, though.
right. But he can't just spend a year and a half outside of an F1 car with the way he left the sport and come back like that.
Yeah, sure. Well,
Yeah.
He's not going to be there.
But Fernando had a whole
return.
retirement season, and he did donuts with Vettel and Hamilton and Abu Dhabi. He's
He
like,
had
I'm
two-
back.
He had 2 he had 2 years out.
But he raced
I mean,
other things.
Yeah,
Unless
hence he won Le
Daniel-
Mans both those
Like
2
Daniel's
years.
not doing
Oh,
anything.
you know,
Yeah.
nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy, just the
Yeah,
one.
Daniel's got a
It's
year
like,
to plan that.
If Daniel does something next year, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
If not, I could see them going any other list of options. There's so many options.
Yeah.
What about like a? This is gonna be kind of like a
Palo.
kind of.
Alex
Palou
Palou.
is
How
a
about
good
Yes.
one.
Pato.
Please.
Pato Ward is another good one.
McLaren's
Yeah.
not going to
Let
let
him.
go of him. No, there's
McLaren
no
won't.
way.
Probably not.
Okay, but
It's a great
how
option.
long is that contract?
He's still
how
racing
long-
IndyCar. He's still doing good there.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he
Right.
has a top dog seat.
But
He
in
does.
terms
Why
of
would-
the
you know.
F1 part of his contract, how long does that actually apply?
No idea.
Zachary Brownathan will not let him go. Like,
Because
Hey.
people like
Too
him.
real.
That's
Yeah.
why. Because people like him.
Big fan.
As
of
But
long
him.
if
as
you're
it's
never
not
gonna give him a
K-Mag.
seat,
I
I
then,
think it's
like,
got to be an American driver, and then the second one can
To
be
be
basically
fair-
anybody.
To be fair, they let go of Gabriel Bortoleto. So
It is true.
For
It is
how-
true.
who's the best open wheel American driver right now?
Connor Daly.
Open wheel? What?
No,
Are
I'm,
you
I'm,
losing
I'm
your mind?
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Joseph Newgarden.
maybe.
He's
Alexander
not too old.
Rossi.
No, no,
Yes.
absolutely not.
Bring him back.
Kid wins the Indy 500, and that's it.
And he,
No.
do you know what he did before that? He got dropped from a back of the grid
Yes, he
team
did.
banner in 2015. And he
Just-
walks into IndyCar and just wins the 500. Same thing with Ericsson. Could Marcus Ericsson
Fuel
come
mileage victory. That's all right.
Maybe.
Ooh, Marcus.
He's
no.
an Andretti driver right now.
Who's the guy?
I would.
And
Marco
now you just
Andretti.
slide him over. Because it's still
think-
Andretti's team. I mean, Michael Andretti stepped down, but
They
the
already
organization
named-
owns the IndyCar team.
They named what's his
and the
name is
F1
like
team.
the president, right? They
Dan
named,
Towers.
No. They named
Oh,
Mario Andretti.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
He's
on
the
the board of
chair.
directors.
He's
too.
on. Yeah,
Yep.
it's
He's the
huge.
board director.
Yeah.
So Ericsson's still signed. He could come right back into F1.
I think they're gonna take an.
It's so funny.
someone
Back
from
of the great F1
IndyCar-
drivers just go to IndyCar and win the 500. Like it's nothing. Takuma Sato,
Yeah.
Marcus Ericsson, Alexander Rossi.
He comes out of twice.
It's like yeah,
Yeah.
it's like every back of the great F1 driver just walks
I
into
think-
F1 and wins the whole damn thing. It's
I think they're gonna
hilarious.
take an American IndyCar driver, or at least someone who's very well liked with the U.S.
yeah.
group, and
Willpower.
Either an experienced F1 driver who's up for grabs, or an F2 rookie.
American money's gonna buy Charles Leclerc.
There you go. You are an American
you
now.
are a GM performance driver.
Never.
Not
Anyways, we've been talking about this way too much. We need to move on.
But this one's good. I like this
Well,
one.
yeah. What if the government just deports Yuki? Like, what if he gets
Wait
hired?
a minute.
Wait,
They
Don't
were
we
already
should
thinking about it.
Anyway,
Because here's the timeline: is that
Anyways.
he's not going to Red Bull, so he looks
Gonna
at
be-
GM and he's
We need to
like,
move
You
on.
know who
GM,
Jason is? Jason's
hire
like
me.
that scene from what's it called? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Charlie's like the board's behind him. It's like,
I
Pepe
got a
Sylvia,
plan.
Pepe Sylvia.
Okay, fine. We'll move on.
Let's move
but
on.
Let's move on.
Don't
We
say
can-
I
we
didn't
have
say.
weeks to
I
talk
was right
this.
about the Cadillac thing. Last week, I laid out the whole plan. I said it's going to be called Cadillac, but Andretti's going to run the team, and
my
that's what's going
gosh.
to happen.
Which is correct.
and then
So
it
far.
was all confirmed. So I'm just saying,
so far.
TSA
Anyways.
is going to be
No
on his
longer is
ass.
it gonna be Tech Tuesday. It's gonna be Jason's conspiracy Tuesdays.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
continue.
Anyways, the FIA president defended them not informing the drivers of their changes of race director and personnel inside the FIA. he said, "Do we have to tell them when something changes inside the teams? Do they tell us? No, they don't. So nobody has to tell. No, nobody has to."
Can you say butt hurt?
Yeah, seriously.
Well, dude's like, I don't know why you think you can tell me what to do with my organization, but okay.
Well, do you know what's so interesting is Max said, "Wow, I hope George is happy with his FIA buddies. Look, they change everything like he wanted. I can't believe George is friends with
That's
them."
why Max said that?
He
Max
said,
went up to him before the driver's
Yep.
parade after the one-place grid penalty drop and goes, "I hope you're happy."
Oh my God,
with
he is
your
not
FIA
making
buddies."
friends.
Yeah,
Oh, clearly he doesn't
Him
need
and
to.
George
buddy
have not
buddy
been
with
friends since like last year in Baku when he
Tier
drove
one
into the
driver
side of
George.
Max.
Mm.
Was that last year or was that 2022?
doesn't
when-
matter. He'll do it
Might have
again.
been 2022.
When
It's-
he just drove into the side of him.
Inspector George is back at it again.
Yeah, right.
Man,
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
love this guy.
It's
He's
crazy.
hilarious.
Mm-mm.
Speaking of which, George had a pretty decent sprint quali like weekend.
Yeah.
Race not so much, but sprint quali.
Pole position.
No, he didn't. He was
I mean,
second.
that's a quality. You mentioned quality, so I threw that in there.
He didn't get the pole position.
Well, yeah,
He
it's
did
no
not
pole
earn
position.
the pole position.
Pole position is the
Okay,
driver
wait.
who
Oh, here we
starts
go.
first. That's the pole position. The
If you
fastest
go-
lap in qualifying.
If you ask Alexa or Google who got the pole position, the answer is
Let's
Max.
see
He
here.
gets the record.
who got
Who
pole
won
position
pole
He
for
Oh,
takes-
here we go.
2024
Uh,
Qatar Grand Prix?
Here we go.
Qatar GP.
Oh, it just has a list of answers. It doesn't read
Verstappen
it.
loses the pole. wait. After an epic qualifying lap from nearly crowned four-time champion Max Verstappen clinched pole position Red Bull. It's actually Mercedes' George Russell.
If
who will
you
start
look at
first
the
on grid.
actual records
Oh, I'm looking at it
On
right now.
He's got the spreadsheet out.
F1,
Oh man.
You guys and your numbers. You
All right,
guys and your
fine.
facts.
I'll stop with the semantics
F1
battle.
still has him as pole.
I will stop with the semantics battle. Max Verstappen did set the fastest lap time.
Set the
Yes,
fastest
you are
lap, he
correct.
got pole. Anyways,
Okay.
rewind. Let's talk sprint because, quite frankly, the only thing that was ever so interesting in sprint qualifying was the fact that Sergio Perez got out in SQ1.
That's not even interesting. It's just a normal.
Nah, that is straight up normal.
What was interesting was the fact that he wasn't out in Q1 in qualifying, but we'll get to that.
What?
Major talking points in the sprint race.
Yes.
Let's talk about Sergio Perez because Checo just sat at the end of the pit lane with a green light for
We
Yeah.
got overtook by a rookie
dude got caught napping.
who's not even
so
driving
hard.
next year.
He was just sitting
Put
there.
the fries in the bag, Sergio.
They can't be paying him that much. Like,
Well,
what is he doing? Like,
It's unreal.
he got overtaken by Fernando Pinto, but then they asked Christian about it.
Yeah.
And he goes, "I've got to go talk to him about that because I don't know what that was."
Hey buddy,
I'm
gas
just
is on
as
the
confused
right.
as you are.
He goes, "When the light goes green, you're supposed to go." So I guess I have to talk to him about that.
It's unreal.
Have you seen the videos that are like Red Bull getting Sergio Perez a tutor for how to start a Grand Prix? And then it's one of those ladies that teaches like little kids on YouTube. It's like for 2-year-olds. It's like the green light means go.
Circle block goes in circle hole.
So this is the gas. This is the
This
clutch.
Poor guy.
He's just sitting there.
We're just four jokers in a college studio yelling about a millionaire who can't figure out how to drive a race car.
He just had he's just sat there like his controller disconnected with his foot on the clutch. He's just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Dude, that was loud.
That was loud.
my bad.
Anyways, that was so funny. But then he turns it into a whole test session. 'Cause he's like, "I'm gonna finish last anyway." So Red Bull's like, "Come in, let's switch your wing." Like they did a whole bunch of
Come on,
issues.
bud. We're gonna try some new things for you. We
Yeah.
got a new wing for you. We're gonna teach you how it works. Okay.
So, however, the one thing I can give Sergio Perez credit for, which I don't do very often, is I would like to say he was a good part of the reason Max was able to win today. Because those setup changes didn't just come out of thin air, and they only had 3 hours to make them. So
Well, see,
obviously
this is
Max
how-
had input, but they tested things on Checo's car that probably ultimately.
Where was this all season? Why
well,
did-
this should have been the plan from day
Well, that's
one.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah, apparently the excuse was they're going to use it like a practice session.
That's what Checo said. That's not what the team said. That's not what Christian
Oh
said.
man, he's cooking up the excuses.
Checo said
Oh my
the
God.
plan was to start from the pit lane and then use the sprint as a test session to get a better car for quality in the race, which happened.
Gosh.
But
Yeah, he made Q3.
he did make Q3. However, this is all Checo. This is the only person who said that was Checo. Christian Horner did not confirm this information. Because usually Christian's the one saying like, "Oh, we did this, so or we sacrificed Checo or whatever to defend Checo." But he was
Checo
saying like, "I don't
sacrifices
know who's
himself.
having." Yeah,
Turning into
Sacrificial
the new
lamb.
K-Mag.
yeah.
But no, it doesn't even help. Like sacrificing yourself is like, oh, I blocked the other driver's rival. Ooh. But he can't even do that, right?
Yeah. Speaking of blocking, Russell had a lot to say about the way Oscar was defending.
Of course he did.
Going to
Because
turn
of
one.
course he did.
What did you guys think? Did you think it was too aggressive?
I
Did you
thought
think
it was
fine?
good, clean racing. I mean, if
No penalty.
I never saw anything terrible. I mean, I could see where he's coming from, but at the same time, I mean, Oscar's just holding his line. You know?
Literally.
I mean,
Yeah.
what did he do wrong?
I didn't think there's anything wrong with it either. It was interesting because Russell was so mad.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
And the commentators were like, well, I can see where that was kind of over the line because, again, British bias. But it wasn't like none of them were sitting there being like, oh, this should be penalty.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's just another example of Russell complaining.
yeah. Speaking of Mercedes, though, Leclerc and Hamilton had quite a couple of
sure did.
corners. Future Ferrari teammates, is this a little sneak peek of what's to come?
I think so.
I'm very happy with this.
As long as they don't take each other out.
Interesting.
I mean,
Hey, it hasn't happened with
Charles
Sainz
and Carlos?
It did happen quite a bit with Vettel and Charles.
Yes.
But they have not, because Vettel is Vettel, and we all know Vettel was to Verstappen before Verstappen arrived.
Correct.
So I wasn't surprised at that. Sainz is a cleaner racer, and Leclerc is pushing just as hard. And I think same thing of Hamilton. Hamilton's like just as clean as the cleanest driver.
Do you
So.
think that the crashes that Seb and Charles had anything to do with the fact that, yes, inside the team they may have been like equals-ish, but Charles had a lot to prove because he's racing a 4-time world champion?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was thinking about today, and I was like, well, he's going to be racing not just a 4-time, but a 7-time world champion now.
Yeah, things have changed
He's
since
going to have a
then.
feeling like he has a lot to prove, and like it or not, with Carlos or without Carlos, leaving or not is what I meant to say. Charles has always been number one driver for Ferrari. They don't openly say it, but they make calls that favor Charles a lot. He's Ferrari's golden boy, always has been.
Yeah.
The only ask that Lewis Hamilton had, this is his words, I want it to be equal treatment. I don't want to be the number one driver. I don't care to be the number one driver. I just want us to be 50-50.
Yeah.
If he gets an upgrade, I get an upgrade. Or if he gets one first one week, then I get one first.
I just don't know how Charles is going to feel about that.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it'll be
He'll
fine.
understand.
I think he'll understand. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I don't know that he'd be happy about it, but I think he'll understand given that
Unless he's like leading significantly in a title contention, there's no reason to be
I mean,
upset.
Sainz hasn't been really far off his pace in general. Like, Leclerc has been better, by and far, of
Yeah.
course.
I think Leclerc's been better, as in he's been more consistent.
Yeah.
And
Because
in
Sainz
his
has
whole
had some
career at
races where
Ferrari,
he's much better.
Yeah.
Sainz compared to Leclerc was always a step ahead of Sainz. Hasn't been until this year that Sainz has really
No.
matched Leclerc stride for stride.
No.
Yeah,
False.
2021.
Carlos finished ahead of Leclerc.
Really, in 2021.
Their first, I want to say it was the first year as teammates.
Then that was 2021.
Check. We are
F1's.
checking. We are checking.
Stand by.
I'm gonna fact check that real quick. Oh yeah, I did. Look at that. By,
What do you know?
by 5.5
Take that,
points.
Ferrari fan.
Wow.
Go suck it.
And 4 podiums to 1.
See, I
Wow.
told you.
Science Jr.
Anyways.
is quite. I wasn't trying to like call you a liar. Like I do on other things, but not on this. It was either he did
This
better or
man's
he
honest.
didn't. Okay, I wasn't trying to kill you there. Jeez.
Anyways, let's talk about another team, or another teammate battle. Not really battle. McLaren.
Yes.
Lando. I'm pretty sure he had like twice the pace he was going
Oh,
in
absolutely.
pocket during the sprint. He held off to help Oscar fight George. And then he just gave the position.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Very nice
It
guy
was
move
planned,
right? There.
right?
Isn't that like a
planned swap.
payback for
Yes and
all
no.
the swaps throughout the year?
So apparently, what Oscar said in the media was the two of them talked about it, kind of like off record, but
Yeah.
the team didn't know about it. And
Interesting.
then
Yeah.
Lando mentioned the swap, and the team told him, "No swap. We're
I
happy
did
to
hear
finish
that.
the way,
Yep.
the way that we are right now because George was so tight behind."
Yeah.
That's
was-
nice from Lando.
They finished a 10th behind each other, and George was 3/10 behind.
Yeah,
them.
you-
especially with
Yeah.
George right there. That's a risky move, and he still did it. Hey,
So-
good job, Lando. That was pretty
Yeah.
nice.
Call me,
He's still gonna lose.
call me a
P2 in the
Lando hater all
championship.
you want.
Wow.
Hold
Wow.
on.
Wow.
Hold on. Call me a Lando hater all you want.
Lando
But
hater.
I think this was very intentional, very calculated. Here's why.
No, I mean,
He owes Oscar
yes.
for what Oscar did swap for him. So he owed Oscar.
Yeah.
I don't think he wanted that to come back to bite him next year.
Hungary 2024.
No, but that's different.
That
that
was
was a
bad
team.
from Lando.
That was bad from the
pretty bad.
team. But was it Brazil where they swapped?
They swapped in Brazil.
I want to say it was Brazil.
Mm,
Maybe it was somewhere else, but it was definitely a sprint.
Yeah.
Yes, they swapped in the sprint in Brazil. Remember? Because I was watching this at Beaver Stadium, so I know exactly when it happened. It was right before the safety car or the VSC came out. They swapped to give Lando the extra point.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's when Lando was still in the hunt
right
potentially.
when he was still in the hunt.
Yeah.
I think that going in, because a swap in a sprint is 1 point, rather than a swap in a top position in a race is many points, he wanted to get it over with at this specific. He had it planned for Qatar, because if he didn't do it in
Oh,
Qatar, he'd have to do it
gosh.
next year. And next year is a whole different championship with a whole different story.
It's true.
He wants.
It's true.
He wanted to be able to give no fucks when it came to Oscar next year.
Yeah.
And I think it was
I don't
very
think that's
intentional.
the case.
Yes, he wanted to go into next year saying, "I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything."
I agree with that,
Let's
but
call
I
it
don't
a
think it's
day.
like an FU to Oscar.
It's not an FU, but did you see Oscar wasn't happy about it? Oscar didn't want it back. He didn't earn it.
It's worthless at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it was worth
Oscar didn't
more
care.
to
Oscar
Lando
was like,
to
okay,
finish
whatever.
P2 in the championship than it was for Oscar
Because
to get a
let's be
one
real,
more point.
Charles is 7 points away, and right now the momentum is all on Ferrari's side.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Like,
Yeah, they're going to a track where they're better at slow corners, and there's a lot of those at
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
We'll see.
I think it was very intentional from Lando's side, and this is not. It is partially just me being like Max hate over here, but on the other hand, or Max fan over here and Lando hate. But on the other hand, even British commentators said this, and they said they're like, "Oh, I'm not really sure how I feel about this because Oscar wasn't too happy about it. Oscar gets led around basically by Lando the whole race just to keep him from getting overtaken by George."
Yeah.
And then you just swap around last minute, almost risking the 1-2, just so that now we're even. Like,
Yeah. I
it
don't
felt
know.
a little bit like off-putting.
I
It
get
put
what you're
everybody
saying.
off.
Yeah.
So
I tell you what,
Yeah.
Zach Brown was very happy about it.
Zach Brown got a 1-2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's stoked.
Zach Brown doesn't care.
Yeah.
At that point, he was thinking we're gonna win this constructors this weekend before everything went kaput
Yeah.
for McLaren. So
we talk about that.
anyways, let's move on to qualifying a couple hours later.
Yes.
But some major changes. Nico Hulkenberg scored points in the sprint, qualified P18, not 3 hours later.
Yep.
That's wild.
Not Alex. Checo starts in the pit lane in the sprint, qualifies P9, finally makes it Q3 after God knows how many qualifyings. So, I mean, it was quite the switch. Top 15 were all within 1 second in Q1.
I'm glad the practice session worked
What do you mean the practice session?
for Perez.
Oh,
He
Yeah.
got all the bad talent out of the way.
that was incredible,
First.
the way that Red Bull turned around. Their balance going to qualifying and the race. Like, if you watch his onboards, Max is by far the most confident driver out there.
Yeah.
And yes, it's Max, but, like, the car just looks so smooth.
Yeah, I don't know how he's doing it when his teammate has struggled so much. And they're technically the second or third worst car every week.
Yeah.
But you just can't tell because Perez and Max are so far apart.
Yeah.
It's like, do you take the average and say, oh, 2 equal drivers would be like in 5 and 6? But, Perez is 9th and Max is 1st. It doesn't even make any sense.
No.
I really do think that if Max, without Max, Red Bull would be probably 5th or 6th. They'd definitely be behind Mercedes.
Fighting with Alpine.
Because if you look at the championship, oh my god, my phone.
Woo!
Anyways, if you look at the championship, I'm gonna grab this. Max has 429 points. Red Bull has 581.
That's insane. That's actually crazy.
Without Max,
4/5 of all. That's
without Max, they
80%
would be
of their points.
They'd be right
with Max.
right ahead of Aston without
Yeah.
Max.
Oh my god, that's insane.
Yeah.
What if you just double Perez? What would a team of 2 Perez's do?
They'd be behind Mercedes. They'd be somewhere between Aston and Mercedes.
That's
be
insane.
You'd still get a mid-tier team.
Wow.
That's wild.
So 1, 2,
But-
3.
You get a slightly
4.
worse
That would be
Mercedes.
5th or 6th.
Congratulations,
So you'd be
you win a
fighting
voucher
Alpine
bought
for
that.
6th?
Wow.
5, 6, 7, 8. You'd be fighting Alonso for 9th and 10th in the championship
That's
Wow.
It's crazy stuff.
in the drivers. And in the constructors, you'd be fighting Aston for 5th or Alpine for 6th, depending on how bad.
Wait.
Dang.
Because
What?
again, Max has taken a lot of points away from some of these other people, right? He's won races
Yeah.
that have taken away from Mercedes, from Ferrari, from McLaren. Like, those teams would definitely by far be way ahead.
Yeah.
So, like, I think McLaren would have secured the constructors ages ago if Max didn't exist.
Oh.
I don't think. I know.
Yeah. Ooh, can we talk
Joe
about this,
Guan
by the
Yu
way?
Outscored Perez in the last 4 races.
Right, because neither of them scored points in the last 3, and Joe scored 4 points today.
Perez
Really?
got 10th. He got 1 point in Las Vegas.
Okay, but before that, he didn't score.
He
correct?
got 11 and then 17. But that's still outscoring Sergio Perez.
Yeah.
What's on your mind, Steven?
Can we
That's
talk
insane.
about what Max said about winning in the McLaren?
Yes.
That's so funny.
Let's talk
That's
about this.
so funny.
It's so facts.
I
You wanna know why?
mean,
You want to know why? Because if it's not just the fact that McLaren is a superior car, it's the fact that if Max was at McLaren, Oscar would be a clear number 2 driver.
That's true.
That's
Max
correct.
That's
Claren.
true.
Because think about how many points Oscar has taken off of Lando this year.
Quite a few.
yeah.
So if you literally just took the McLaren car, which has been far superior for 90% of the season,
Yeah.
and took it to the Red Bull team with Max still being on top, strategy calls still making sense. Like today, for example, and we'll get into this when we get into the race, they pitted Oscar Piastri like the lap before we got a full safety car, or 2 laps before, with absolutely no reason to. So if you took the McLaren car, gave it to Red Bull with their strategists and Max being clear number 1, he would have won the championship 3 races
I mean,
ago.
would you say that he would win every single race?
No.
No. Okay.
No, because the McLaren has been a
Well, actually, that's
superior
true.
car,
Yeah.
but I still think like Charles still would have won Monaco.
Yeah.
Very potentially, I think so. Max is a very good driver. He's not God. Like, he can't just win every single race. And let's not forget, the Red Bull was still the superior car for the first, like,
Yeah.
6 races or 7 races.
I know
6
he
races.
also said the same thing about Ferrari, and Charles was like, "No."
No, he didn't say that about Ferrari.
I'm pretty sure he did, or maybe it's Mercedes. He said that about another team too. I remember that for sure.
He may have said, I think he may have said, like, if somebody else asked him, he may have said, like, oh, if I was in a different car, like maybe the McLaren or Ferrari.
Yeah.
He probably said
Because
something like that, but that direct comment was just
Yeah, straight to Zach
McLaren.
Brown too, which is crazy. It wasn't even like a reporter. It was like
no. It was so funny.
Yeah.
crazy.
Zach got handed like
I mean, he was a little drunk by then. What's crazy is that throughout media, Max did not wait. He just started drinking gin and tonic and then like
Yes.
Heinekens. He threw in a
had-
couple of 0-0s to get the ad money in.
he had a
but-
couple Heineken 0.0s. He had a couple actual Heinekens with alcohol. He made gin tonics. And
live?
Red Bulls. Was it Red Bull? With
Vodka Red Bulls.
Vodka Red Bulls.
yes.
That's crazy.
Live on Austrian TV.
I saw that.
Or
That was
German TV,
wild.
yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Bartender
That's the only
Max,
reason why I
man.
think he said that. And his plane was still in Las Vegas the next day.
Well,
So
yes,
he did not leave.
because did you hear what George said? George said, I was going to the airport at 9
here we
a.m.
go.
and saw Max at the club still.
That's
He was
crazy.
still drinking.
Hey, that's why Max hates George. I mean, all my homies hate George Russell.
George is anti-fun club.
George can't party.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm actually low-key a George Russell fan.
Right.
Unless it's
We
with
could keep
Fernando, of
rolling.
course.
We could keep rolling.
What did we think of the one-place grid penalty? Stupid or not? Stupid / not warranted or warranted?
That's like a 2-yard penalty in football. It shouldn't exist.
No.
Like, it's almost just like insulting, like to take him off
Yeah.
pole position. I mean, it didn't end up mattering. Like, he still got George off the line, anyways. But
Yes. Do
for doing what? Can you please remind us?
Right. So he was too slow on a slow lap and essentially impeded George, who was also on a slow lap.
Oh,
Crazy stuff.
I
So-
mean, you're not supposed to police the outcome. You're supposed to police the action. And technically, on qualifying laps, you don't want to be blocking or trading. They have set
But
a
they
minimum. Wait, no,
were.
they didn't even do that. It's now all in the pit lane. It's not on the. Yes, no, they do. You're right.
They
And so
still
they-
have a minimum lap time, a maximum
They have a minimum
maximum-
lap. Maximum lap time.
However, Max had just let 3 cars by that were on fast laps, which, given what they did in sprint quali, was allowed. If you're over the delta time, but you're letting cars through, it's still allowed. It's okay. But then they go and give him a penalty. What I don't understand is, A, how do you penalize a driver for impeding another driver when they're both on slow laps? First of all. Second of all, I've never seen someone get a one-place grid penalty. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So weird.
Feels like another makeup call.
I have no clue. Even though he's buddy with the FIA, like Max says,
Yeah.
to go out like this and get.
Ma-
Oh wait, no, that's George who's buddy. All right, so
Yeah,
George
George-
phoned it in.
George
He's
phoned
like,
it in.
I want the pole position in my record book, and they said,
But
all
he
right,
doesn't get the
buddy.
record for pole. He just
Yes, he
starts on
does.
pole. No, he doesn't.
We've been over this.
We've been over this.
This-
If a driver sets pole
let's
position,
revisit it.
we did this already. If
How
a
does the
driver
record
gets
book
pole
say?
position and then takes a grid penalty, they still
It's
get
in the
pole
record
on the
book.
Saturday. Like, if you look up, take any race where, I'm sure there was a couple where Charles got pole, but then he took a penalty. Look it up. And then he will take a penalty. Max has done this before. Max has taken an engine penalty and started from, gotten the pole and taken an engine penalty. And he starts 10th. But you still get the pole position record because you still got the fastest time on Saturday. It's not who
Wikipedia
starts
says
from pole.
otherwise.
Wikipedia is a site where people
Nah,
can go put
Wikipedia
in
is
their own
awesome.
information.
No, you gotta pay to
Moving
change
on.
information.
Oh,
Because-
here we go.
Anyways, Max told media that speaking to George who in the steward's room was like talking to a brick wall.
I'm sure it was. He's standing there with
fully
his
believe it.
with his FIA sash, talking to Max, just
Yeah.
like
Facts. Facts.
no, no, Max.
Anyways, let's get into the race because there was more Max and George.
There
Just
was
a little bit where Max just overtook George and was like, bye-bye. Max and Lando both got past George on lap 1.
Yeah, that's called karma.
Yeah, that's karma's a bitch.
100%.
Did you hear Christian? I don't know if it's Christian or GP saying it after the race.
No.
Saying, "Yeah, there's your karma for you."
Oh my god.
Yeah, they
that's
said
awesome.
it after on the
That's
lap.
awesome.
It's crazy.
So
George
lap.
is fuming.
George is calling in like a 2-place grid penalty.
Oh my
what did we
gosh.
think of the Colapinto Ocon Hulkenberg crash?
That was interesting. I mean, it literally looks like Nico just lost his car a little bit, got into
Cold
Franco,
tires.
and,
Cold tires
you
that
know.
were not nearly warm enough.
Yeah,
He was the only guy starting on hard tires.
Yeah.
His tires
that's
were freezing.
that shouldn't be allowed.
No.
It
that
was
really
just a bad
should be.
call. I think it
I
was a
would have
bad
just
call.
held off at the start and just like, I don't know.
Chill there with
go-
Checo.
Can we also make the point that Colapinto, Ocon, and Hulkenberg started 18th, 19th, and 20th? There was nothing to gain for them. Like, the reason this
Yeah.
crash happened is because they quite literally had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, they were
Yeah.
starting dead last. All of them were starting at the back. So,
it's a test session.
Why does it now say Tier 1 driver George with a J? Russell with no
George.
second L lost the lead.
Yeah, because he did.
George Russell.
I thought that was a terrible move by Tier 1 driver George Russell.
George
Terrible is a
Russell.
bit of understatement. The dude
Yeah, so
literally just like
I have to throw
flopped.
that in there just because that was kind of bad. So
Stop messing
he's
with my
not
notes.
doing himself any
Anyways.
favors. This is a quote from Total Wolf. Anyways, I
Nice.
still remember
George,
that. Like,
yeah, I remember that too.
who was it? I think Bottas started it because they like asked, "Oh, Bottas, how can we help you?" He's like, "Oh yeah, Toto on the radio like motivates me." So then I guess George followed suit because he doesn't say this to Lewis. Like when they say it's hammer time, it's always Bono. It's never Toto.
Yeah,
but
but-
Toto has to come on the radio and be like, "Use the DRS, George."
He's
Toto
like
comes
the
on the
Sith
radio
Lord.
when Lewis is doing bad for PR. When Lewis is being like, "This car is undrivable. Like I just want to pit or whatever."
He called to retire the car, and his team was like, "All right, sure,"
No.
and they retired the car. Like, what?
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
They
well, not for the
didn't.
first lap, but
They
then the
didn't
second
retire.
lap,
He didn't. He
they
finished the
retired car.
race.
No, he retired. Right?
No, he finished the race.
Who we talking about right now?
Lewis Hamilton.
Oh no, yeah, he
He
finished.
He finished the race.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're gonna get to that because Lewis had quite the race. But
Oh,
first,
he sure did.
Do you know what his
He,
middle name is?
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Carl
Well,
I
how
did
does
know
he
that.
spell it?
with a C.
C-A-R-L.
Imagine with
I
a
did know
K.
that.
Lewis Carl.
That's my
Before we
middle name.
before we move to
Oh,
Lewis,
there you go.
before we move to
LC.
Lewis though, Alex Albon Lance Stroll crash thoughts?
Lance Stroll being Lance Stroll.
Classic. It's
Not
strolling
surprised.
time.
It's
Let's
strolling
go.
time. Stroll being Stroll.
Stroll time.
Strolling.
Yeah, Lewis had the false start. What do you think of the false start?
That was crazy. He must.
Happened.
It was just barely.
Yeah.
That wasn't the only penalty he got though, because he also got a penalty for speeding the pit lane.
Yes.
Um,
Ironically called in by Lando.
yes. Did anybody else catch the fact that essentially what the FIA did for making him speed in the pit lane was do it again, but this time do it right? Because it was just a drive-through.
Yes.
You
Yep.
had to drive through. The thing is,
We're
like,
watching.
We're watching. This time, do it the right
Yeah.
way.
Yes.
It's like he's taking a driver's test.
Prove
It's
to
like,
us that you can do it.
now,
Prove to us that you can do
No,
it.
Yeah.
do it again. And he did. He
1
did.
point deduction. Do it again.
He
Um,
did.
There were a lot of penalties this race. One of the ones
There
I
were.
didn't like that much was the Liam Lawson 10-second penalty for causing a collision.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it was a little bit more of a racing incident than
Yeah.
it was like a true collision on his part.
Yeah.
I don't know what y'all
The
thought
new
about
FIA
that.
stewards are just figuring out how the penalty buttons work since somebody got fired.
My, yeah.
So I guess they messed up with the one place grid penalty instead of
Yeah.
like 5.
They forgot a digit in there.
And then they couldn't press the correct button for a virtual safety car, so they only got the front straight.
yeah.
And then they couldn't figure out how to give Lando just a regular 10-second, so he got drive through instead. Like, I don't know. It's
Shoot,
like,
we're at 10-second
it really
penalties.
seems like they just don't know what the
Commentators-
buttons
the
work.
commentators on F1 TV said at this point the FIA is just spinning a wheel and figuring out where
It's unreal.
And on this episode of Wheel of Fortune.
Because Alex Albon also got a penalty for collision with K-Mag, to which Kevin then gets past him the next lap and goes, "Fuck off." On the team radio. I was like, Lance Stroll also got a penalty for causing a collision with Alex on that first lap.
What else is new?
Oh,
What
this
else
is
is
funny
new?
too.
What's funny?
Continue.
What's funny?
You
Shirt
just
to the
scroll
class,
down on the
Jason.
notes.
Oh, what did you add to the notes?
We have T-Pose, George Russell, and then George Russell is Woody from Toy Story.
Oh my God.
Who's adding pictures to our notes? Anyways,
Oh boy.
There he
let's
is.
get into
That's cursed.
We will need to provide an image for the YouTube video.
yeah, they're gonna have to see
I have to
this.
see this.
Anyways,
Oh my gosh, I just made it
What-
disappear. Where'd it go?
why?
There he is.
Let's get into a very serious topic of the FIA's handling of the yellow flags and the way that all happened.
Yeah.
What did you think?
It should have been a virtual safety car. I think we all
Yep.
kind of came to terms with that before we started, but now we like explaining how the circumstance worked because it's a piece of debris that, I mean, Bottas was the first one to hit it, correct?
Yeah,
Pretty
but like
sure.
two drivers.
Seven
Caused-
laps after it
caused
happened.
carbon fiber to go everywhere, right? And then the double punctures with Lewis and Carlos. Yeah, no, it should have been like, I don't know. They put like what a section yellow on
Sector?
it. I think a sector yellow on it.
It wasn't a sector. It was
Oh.
literally just the back straight.
It was a spot
Splash straight.
yellow, like.
That's so.
Because
They're like, oh, watch out for that.
Apparently
Just
for a
be
second
careful
they
of it.
used the hazard slippery on track. Like it was the red and yellow stripes, which usually mean like slippery track.
Yeah.
Like if there's an oil spill or something, but it's a mirror.
Yeah, it's a solid object.
it
Just
just
Yeah.
it was
George Russell
so
is the type of
stupid.
guy to drive past that and be like, mirror, mirror on the track.
oh my goodness gracious.
Who's the best home run?
There's a reason why you're in the penalty box, man.
Anyways,
Guys, stop the race! Stop the race! There is a mirror on the track.
well, that's what I was expecting George to say.
Stroll
Yeah.
is
That's-
approaching. Red, red. Remember that? He flipped. It's like guys like crash, red flag. And they said Stroll is approaching, and they started screaming.
Oh my god.
I remember this.
He parks horizontally, gets out the car. Is like, whoa, 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 whoa! Everyone stop! Everyone stop! There's a mirror on the floor.
He like picks it up. Does he look at himself or does he throw it away?
he
looks at
definitely
himself
looks at
And
it.
then he throws
With his
okay.
race suit off.
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, he has to unzip
Shirtless.
it first.
Yeah, he's too
You gotta
shirtless.
look.
Anyways,
Just blinds someone with his pale skin.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah. Anyways, that mirror was just sitting there for forever. The other thing, which I'm very confused about, this doesn't make any sense to me. Under yellows, in
Yes.
theory, there's no DRS, correct?
You would think, yes.
So why was half the grid had their DRS open when they came down the main street, and the other half didn't?
I couldn't tell you.
It's Formula One.
I
Nothing ever
could-
makes sense.
Nothing ever makes sense.
No, you can in the like if there's it isn't a VSC, it's like a sector yellow, but you just can't pass.
But they were overtaking into turn one.
Well, because there's only a front straight. It wasn't even turn one because for some reason it's a spot yellow. Like only one Marshall post went yellow. Like,
Yeah,
I don't understand.
I don't get it.
It's like when they do a double waved yellow for like turn 5. Like double wave yellow is like probably it's a warning. There's like nothing extra you could do. It's like you're
Yeah.
supposed to lift in Max, and that's how
That's
he got
how
his, how's
Lando
that?
got his penalty.
Stupidest thing
Because
ever.
Max saw the gap behind him from him to Lando. It's double yellows.
Because
Sees
lift,
the back. He sees
there's no set
the gap
definition.
between him, the back of his car, and Lando, getting closer and closer and closer. And he comes on the radio GP and goes, "Lando didn't lift for double yellows. Check it." So they go on. He takes like 2 minutes. They rewind. They watch his onboard. He goes, "You're correct. Lando didn't lift." And Max goes, "So report it to the stewards." That's what they did. Lando gets a penalty for not lifting under double yellows. 10-second stop-go penalty, which is essentially at this track 35-second penalty.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
the
Especially
stop and go
after
was
a
crazy.
safety car
Yeah.
to get that when the whole field's still bunched up.
So bunched up. He came out last.
Yeah.
Death sentence.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe it. Like it astounds me. They didn't go virtual safety car and they left a mirror out on track.
Yeah.
It's
Got
such a big piece of debris.
hit a car
Massive.
and 2 other cars. It was from Albon's car. It flew off his
It
car.
flew off Albon's car. It sat in the middle of the track for like 6 laps. Then Bottas run right over it.
Yep.
He ran right over it, and it like probably, I want to say, it probably gave him a good amount of debris himself. Like that took stuff off his floor.
Yep.
Leaves a bunch of debris
It
on that
caused
track
him-
right there. And then it caused 2 punctures. Unless the puncture was from something else,
is
but
it?
because we never got confirmation, but I'm 95% sure the debris on the track caused both of those punctures.
Caused him to write this mean Twitter paragraph saying
Who?
how much this
Valtteri
race
Bottas.
sucked. And it's been, I quote, "It's been a shit year, and his PA is well deserved." He's talking about Zoe.
Yeah.
But in any case, 1 more week to go. Like, Bottas is not the type of guy to
I was
be
gonna
writing
say,
Twitter
yeah,
No.
He
he's
doesn't
not
care.
that guy.
He doesn't care.
He
He's
doesn't care
older.
enough.
He doesn't
Obviously,
care
he
enough.
cared enough about this race because of the mirror on the track. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
if only George could have pulled over and like picked it up.
George, where are we when you need you? Come on now.
Yeah.
Max did his best George impression, though. I will say that.
Oh, quite literally.
But yeah, I think, although I think the penalty was a slam dunk, like there was no reason not to give a penalty for that.
No.
Like he didn't lift under double yellows. The rule is the rule. Max got the same treatment when Carlos crashed right in front of him. Now, did the FIA, and I watched this live on the live time, they put up the yellow, took it down, put the yellow back up as a double yellow, and then took it back down.
Yeah.
And then put it back up.
Yeah.
And left it as a partial, not as a whole sector thing.
Yeah.
It started off as like a sector 3
What a mess.
Yeah.
thing. Or sector 3 and sector 1 was the first yellow. Then it came down, became a double yellow on the straight, I think, or a double yellow on sector 3 and sector 1, and then it became just a double yellow on the straight.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it kept coming up and down, and so in a way, fine, I get it. When you went into like turn 14, you didn't see it. But when you came down the straight, even if you didn't see it coming into the corner, you had to lift before the end. Like,
Yep.
he just like pedal to the metal all the way through.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that penalty was so harsh.
Yeah.
So harsh. Like Andreas Stella said, it just seems to me like they picked up a book that hasn't been opened in months, all full of dust, flipped to what to do when a driver fails to lift on double yellows, and it says 10-second stop, go penalty.
Should
And
have
that's
never
what they
been
gave
a
him.
double
Yeah.
yellow in the first place.
No, that's the thing. That's the whole like big argument about it is fine, he
Should have
deserved a
been VSC
penalty,
through the pit
but
lane.
it should never have been there in the
Run
first
a marshal
place.
out there to retrieve it.
Yeah.
And
would
that's
have
what they end up
caused-
doing is safety car through the pit lane. Marshall went out there to sweep it up.
Yeah, and
Yep.
then we continued. And let's not forget that that wasn't the only mistake with that safety car, because when the safety car was coming in, the safety car light was having issues. I don't know if this was a specific FIA issue or if this was just the fact that all the cars are super close together and maybe I don't want to say service, the connection just wasn't working well, but the safety car light went off, as in it's green to go racing in the cars, came back on as a blinking yellow, and then it went green.
That's not right.
So that's why on that second safety car restart, on the first and the third one, Max got a huge jump on Lando. Like, it was so clear. He was like 8/10 ahead by the time he got to the first corner. But on the second one, Lando almost overtook him.
Yeah.
Because Max had no idea when to go.
Yeah.
He goes, GP, tell me when the safety car is in, because it doesn't say on my screen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
not the
Crazy.
smoothest.
Yeah.
Messed
Crazy.
up all around.
Also, rewinding just a little bit, why did McLaren pit Oscar Piastri right before said safety car?
Kicks and giggles.
I mean, they didn't bring it out already, so it's like valid for McLaren to assume, oh, they didn't bring it out. They might not bring it out at all.
He brought it out after the punctures. It was the same lap as Lewis and Carlos getting a puncture.
Probably just too late. I mean, not end up doing a terrible decision, but you know,
I think it cost him P2.
probably.
Could have been second.
And Ferrari's still in the championship.
They're
Let's
21
go.
points away.
We gained on McLaren.
It ain't
just
happening, bro.
because
It ain't
I
happening.
don't think
can say that.
Ferrari gets the constructors, because I think McLaren, with both their drivers, are more consistent than Charles and Carlos.
Yeah.
However, I think Charles gets the drivers, the P2 and the drivers. He's only 7 points from Lando.
Yeah.
Great job, Chuckles.
Go Chuckles. However, Mercedes and George also not nailing this pit stop. Was a 7-second pit stop.
Wasn't that
for
because
George
of the
Russell.
puncture?
No, because Lewis got the puncture.
Oh.
George just had a slow pit stop.
Oh.
You know George was having a fit during that.
Oh, 100%.
man.
Absolutely. And
No,
then
he's too infatuated by the mirrors in his car.
and then
Guys,
well,
take your time.
he must have been, because he also picked up a penalty for failing to maintain distance behind the safety car.
Oh my gosh.
He
He got FIA'd.
Yeah. He got a 5-second penalty. Luckily, he had the gap to Gasly, so he didn't drop position. But
Oh, is that for being too far away from the
being
safety
too far
car?
away
Okay.
from the car in front of you.
He was being too
Yep.
safe, is what I'm hearing.
No.
He was more than 10 car
He's
lengths from the car in
literally
front of
the
him.
president of the GDPA, and he's
To be
being
f-
fined for being too safe. Like,
I don't.
Guys,
to be
come on.
fair, I don't think the FIA usually looks at these things unless they're reported. So
Are you saying
well,
Max
that
did
was
this?
never an
No.
issue. Yes,
Whoever
actually,
was-
yes.
I
So-
guarantee you Pierre Gasly reported this.
Oh my gosh.
Guarantee you Pierre said he's more than 10 car lengths away from
like,
Oscar.
what?
Because this
Would he
used
have to
be an
report it
issue.
after the race? Because I don't think they
This
said.
used to
I
be an
didn't see
issue where
anything.
drivers would be too far from the car in front of them to back up the rest of the pack behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Lewis would live too much of a gap to the safety car so he could go ahead, like do the short jets of like slow down, and then warm up the tires and like go really fast and then slow down.
Mm-hmm.
So they instituted that rule. So all right, valid penalty, but kind of funny when you think about it.
Yeah, George got Georged.
Yeah. But at the end, Lando was able to come back, salvage a P10, and he got the fastest lap point. Zhou Guanyu got the driver of the day.
Very good.
Very well
I
deserved.
didn't think it would
Very
happen.
good.
Points
I
in a
really didn't think it would
Sauber.
happen.
Can we also mention the fact that's the first point Sauber has had since this race last year?
That's wild.
Dang, interesting.
So in a year, almost exactly.
They're just
a
a
year.
Qatar team. They're just a Qatar team.
just
This is
good at
how
Qatar,
it
I
goes. They're good at
guess.
Qatar.
No, they're just so slow. They almost had double points. Wow. If Lando wasn't as fast as he was, they would have had double points.
Yeah.
Because Lando
I mean,
just
the
barely
Lando
got
penalty
Valtteri.
was pretty egregious, but there's a chance for Bottas.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was in the points. It was so cruel on him because he was in the points for like a lap and a half.
You made him write a
And then
Twitter
Lando
paragraph.
Oh, poor
Then Lando
guy.
was like, "Let me just overtake you real quick." Nothing much.
Yikes.
But I think this is the most DNFs we had in a race that wasn't raining,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, in recent memory, for sure.
Because we had only 15 drivers finished.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We haven't had any big wrecks in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was the last time? Well, yeah, when was the
Brazil.
last time there was a yellow flag? It was Brazil?
Yeah.
Do we not have a yellow in Vegas?
I
Don't think so.
remember there being one.
I thought Vegas was a very clean race.
Yeah.
It was a very clean race. Yeah, you're right. I don't think we had anything in Vegas.
That's insane.
So yeah, since Brazil when it was raining, it's the
Jeez.
I think
last
the
like major.
worst performance otherwise was Azerbaijan because there was 4 DNFs there, but there was 5 in what's it called?
Right, and that's a street circuit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah.
This is a traditional racetrack.
a traditional racetrack, and the only thing I can say is that compared to last year, it was so much colder. And when I say cold, y'all won't get this because this is Celsius. It was like 26 degrees Celsius.
That's pretty
I wanna
warm.
say-
That's pretty warm, isn't
I
it?
want to say that's like a high
Oh,
70s
how it goes by yeah, it is like maybe
Yeah,
maybe
in Fahrenheit.
79,
Something like
that's
that.
closer
Fairly
like
warm.
that. Yeah.
When it was again, I don't know this in Fahrenheit. When it was it was like 20 degrees in Vegas. And people were wearing puffer jackets.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, I don't get out my puffer unless it's 0 degrees Celsius.
78 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's pretty
Is
warm.
26?
It's 78.8. So
yeah,
it's like
so
you know,
79. You were right. Yeah, high 70s. So it's like, it was compared to last year when it was like pushing 40 Celsius. It was like 30 something degrees with track temp of above 50.
That's crazy.
Like, it was very hot last year. People were throwing up in cars and stuff last year.
It wasn't
This
worth
year, it was freezing.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, freezing in Qatar terms. So, I know.
Oh, boy.
21 points between Ferrari and McLaren in the championship.
it. Great news.
Half a point between Gabriel Bortoleto in the F2 championship and his closest competitor, which is Isaac Hadjar, who is in the running still for the Red Bull seat. I don't think he's going to get it, but still in the question. And 7 points between Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris in the drivers. So still a lot to come in Abu Dhabi. With that said, predictions for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Predictions. I think we're going to see a very ominous clue to possibly what could be next year, which is Max Verstappen again showing dominance. I don't know why. I get the feeling that like
He's a completionist.
yeah, he's a completionist. Like I feel like Red Bull somehow is going to find something special in the offseason. And in particular, they're going to get a good momentum with these last 2 races. So he won today, and I think he's going to win again in Abu Dhabi. So I have Max Verstappen P1, and I got a Ferrari 2-3 with Leclerc and Sainz.
So you have Ferrari likely taking the drivers
Yes,
and the
likely.
constructors.
It's depending on, I think, a Lando mess up, which is all too common, unfortunately, this year.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, we just witnessed it today. I mean, so
yeah.
I could see it flip-flopping, though. If he doesn't mess up, I think Lando does come P2.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
is, again, that's where he was going to come in,
Yeah, I can agree.
today. So,
It all comes back to Lando.
but I have Max.
Mine's a little different, but
Penultimate
I have the same,
one.
a little bit of the same.
A little bit the same. Do you have Max P1?
I'll get to mine.
Okay.
Stephen.
Yeah, I don't see Lando winning this one. I don't even really see Max winning this one, if I'm being honest. I do see a Ferrari winning this one, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think I want to go Carlos P1.
Interesting.
That'd be
gonna
so
go-
fun if he finished his tenure with a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carlos P1, George P2. I'll go Piastri P3. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jason?
This next track is going to be more favorable to the slower turns of Ferrari. It's going to be colder again, so Mercedes, again, looking good. And, so that means basically it's a Ferrari-Mercedes podium. I predicted that last week, but George just dropped.
And a certain Dutch man decided no.
It would be really
Yeah.
funny. So, of course, I want to predict Charles Leclerc win, followed by George Russell P2, and Oscar Piastri P3. I really think McLaren will still have enough
Okay.
So, I believe,
that we can win.
I believe that we will
I think, this is going to sound crazy a little bit.
Uh-oh.
I think both Carlos and Lewis are going to have horrible final races with their given team. I think Lewis is not going to finish the race.
Oh.
Wow, that's
I think Carlos is going to finish in the points, but he's going to have a terrible qualifying.
Okay.
That's that. I think Charles wins the race, followed by George and Max. And I think Lando's going to DNF.
Dang, interesting.
Wow.
I think the
That'd be
pressure is going to get to him.
You know what's funny is like I actually not respect it, but like I liked all that, even though like Carlos and Lewis like not having good weekends, like I could see that happening. But Lando DNFing.
The thing I have with
that's a
Lando,
wild
I've been talking
card.
about this all weekend with family friends who also watch F1. I think Lando, he's a good driver. Nobody can take that. He's a good driver. I think he's so weak mentally. And I think the pressure's going to get him. I think he had a terrible race in which his entire bad outcome was his fault.
Yeah.
He failed to lift under double yellows. That's on him. It's not the
Yeah.
team's fault. It was not their responsibility to tell a seasoned F1 driver with several seasons
He's the
in his
only
pocket.
driver that got the
He's the
penalty.
only driver who had made that mistake.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately that's going to kick him a little bit. He got kicked last weekend because he lost the championship to Max. He said he sat for like 24 hours, or 40. Was it 24 or 40? Something like that. Where he like literally was just down the whole weekend or the whole like rest of the weekend, the Sunday. Because he was like, that was my shot and I blew it. So he lost in Vegas with the championship. Max took the win when he could have won this race. He had the car to win this race. And he had the car to win the sprint, which he let Oscar win. So he's just down and down and down. I just think the pressure, the mental pressure is going to get him.
Yeah,
If he
that's
doesn't
a fair
DNF the
point.
race, he's going to crash in quali. I do think he's going to crash this weekend. Maybe he proves me wrong. I would love nothing more than for Lando to win this race. As much as I'm a Max girl, but I would love nothing more than him to prove everybody wrong and win it. But I just don't think it's going to happen.
We shall see.
Any final thoughts?
My brain is a little fried.
Yeah.
Well, with that, thank you guys so much for watching. We will be back, as always, every Monday, 11:30 Eastern Time.
Wait. Is there quote of the day?
Oh, simply lovely.
Oh.
So it could either be Lando
Lando
or
Norris.
Norris.
Actually, I think it was Christian Horner this week.
Oh, Max said it anyway.
Max did say it.
Oh
No,
my
I didn't have a quote of the day
gosh.
for today because so much happened this race that
That's fair.
I didn't think we were going to get to one.
That's fair.
So,
That's fair.
We were also all traveling and such.
Yeah.
correct. So, with that, actually, if you are in the U.S., we hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
Indeed.
And we will be back next week to recap Abu Dhabi. But in the meantime, check out our socials, TikTok and Instagram at Lights Out Latest for Tech Tuesday, Wag Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, Fun Fact Friday, and the occasional Man on the Street. Bye, guys.
Peace.
Goodbye.